Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this podcast, we're going to discuss, debate, and argue about the Slam magazine's 50 greatest NBA players of all time. Now, Slam dropped this a few months back, and I decided to bring in the homies D Love Hall and Easy Does It VA, two NBA heads, so that we could talk about this. And we're going to break it down. And we're going to try to figure out where some players should be on our particular list. Players like Larry Bird, Allen Iverson, Scottie Pippen, Dominique Wilkins, Patrick Ewing, Kevin Durant, Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James, and of course Kobe Bryant, just to name a few. So when you're finished listening to the podcast, we want to hear what you think. But for now, sit back, relax, we'll drop the theme music, and we'll get the podcast jumping. Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. As I mentioned in the intro, man, we're talking about Slam Magazine's 50 greatest. You've seen the list by now. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. This list came out a few months ago. I really wanted to take a second to kind of digest the list and break it down. And of course, obviously, when you talk basketball, you want to have people on that, know about the game. Man, I had to start with the homies, man. I mean, like, I couldn't, for me to do this podcast, I had to bring these two cats on. So let me introduce to you, the listening public, my first co-host, man. We go back all the way to the 7th grade. This dude, man, I mean, like I said, huge basketball fan. He's actually a basketball coach. He's a father. He's an entrepreneur. He's got a nasty left hand. Ladies and gentlemen, coming into the 12 Kyle podcast studios for the first time, my homeboy VA Easy, a.k.a. Easy Does It VA. What up, man?
What up? Yep. Hey, first and foremost, Kyle, I was on the blog talk early. Just want to clarify.
Yeah, you were on blog. So you did make several guest appearances on Blog Talk Radio when I had the 12 radio show. What's good, man?
Same old, man. Same old.
Hey, thanks for coming through, man. I told you I had you penciled in for this one, so we had to make it happen. My next co-host, man, what can I say about this guy? I mean, he comes in here with, fresh white Air Force Ones with the gum bottoms, with the purple frames in his glasses. This guy has an album. I gotta say that every time he comes on here. He did, start some controversy on the last time he came on the podcast, talking about sex. You know him, you love him. D Love Hall is in the building. D, what up?
Hey man, what up? Twitterverse, 12 Kyle, all that controversy.
No.
I thought I was just giving some straight up knowledge. I didn't know it was so controversial.
You dropped science like none other. I mean, like, that actually has been one of the most popular podcasts that I've had this year. So
I was on my law professor that night. So let's do that.
So if you haven't heard, when you finish listening to this podcast, go back and listen to that podcast with me and my man D Love Hall. The topic was things that men won't tell you about sex, but you need to know.
And you might get a man. Right.
So, yeah, man, I had to get you guys on, man, because we obviously the three of us are huge basketball fans, and I know, like, for us coming up, when we were coming up, man, we looked at publications like, for hip hop, The Source. The Source was like almost like the Bible. Like we studied it and we believed in everything, that it stood for. And then I want to say like early to mid 90s, it was Slam Magazine. Slam Magazine took the place of Street and Smiths for us as we moved into the digital and the internet age. And I understand, I get it. When you're anytime you're trying to concoct a top list of players in any sport, particularly, NBA teams, there's always going to be disagreements on players and placements. That's just a fact. And even in this age of social media, NBA fans, they're going to constantly, debate as to who's the greatest or who's in the top 10 or who's this person or that person. And we did see, a situation where the NBA did vote on their greatest 50 players of all time. And the cool part about it is that these type of debates, I always call them barbershop debates, can pop up anywhere. Barbershops, dinner, at the club, in the shed, like how we kick it. But since the advent of social media outlets, websites, they kind of really fester on this because they want to have a situation where they can drive traffic or drive clicks and drive, people to their sites to, kind of argue and debate on it. And, Slam has done just that. So, for as much as I'm going to slam Magazine for what they did with this list, it worked because, they got us here talking about it. So they Slam Magazine, for those of you who don't know, huge basketball publication, they came out with a list of their top 100 greatest NBA players of all time. Now, I don't actually have the magazine. To be honest, for the sake of time, we're not going to go through the 100 players. So I wanted to narrow it down to the top 50. And I did some research. I could not find the criteria by which they came up with this list. So I don't know who was involved, whether it was Slam writers. I'm almost certain they didn't involve any NBA players, right? So we got this list. It's the 50 greatest players of all time, according to Slam Magazine. So with that being said, of course, before we even get into the discussion, everything is subjective. I mean, anytime you have these kind of discussions, it's all subjective. So I think we need to get that out the way. Not that we need to, but I mean, you guys listening, you know what time it is. But yeah, they got a 50 greatest list. So my boy Zeke, I want you to start at number 50 and go down to like 40 and just read off the list, just for the people who are listening who may or may not have seen this list.
Word. Okay, well, we're going to start at number 50. Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The original Black Jesus. Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Could be an argument about that's pretty low, but we'll keep going here. 49, Bill Walton.
Wow.
No comment. Number 48, Nate Archibald.
Little big man.
Little big man,
Tiny.
Yeah. Before Zeke, that was tiny. I gotta give him respect. Handle life.
Mm-hmm.
Number 47, Willis Reed. There should be some criteria about cats who play with chokers.
Here we go.
I'm saying, like, I got to pull up your stats, B, but I remember the choker and the limp. I can't remember much else than that. The choker and the limp. Number 46, straight out of the Gas House, Gastonia,
mm-hmm.
James Worthy.
Big game.
Yeah. That's a questionable location at number 46, but James Worthy is classic, obviously. George Mikan, number 45. Not so sure about that at all. Not so sure. Ain't enough video, B.
Right. It's all 45. Black and white too.
I mean, they might have had a peach basket. It might have been a peach basket. And they ain't had goggles back then. That cat played in like regular glasses. All types of. Yeah, I can't even. I got to pull that up to look at the stats. Number 44, the Ice George Gervin.
Yes,
sir. Classic. Yes, everybody got the poster when he got.
Everybody got the poster.
Yeah. You got to have the poster with the Ice. Number 43, Clyde the Glide, Five Slammer Jammer Drexler.
Wow. My first dispute.
Yeah, classic. He's a classic ball player, but I can see where this can be a little controversial when you go up that list. Number 42, Wes Unseld.
Second dispute.
Look, I got a little conversation on that too. You know, I think he averaged 10 points a game. He might have averaged a double-double. He was a rebounder, so I guess, and he won the championship. So, you know, 10 points a game. That's a lot for like 42 though. I mean, that's not enough for 42. But anyway, I'm gonna move on from that. Number 41, Dominique Wilkins, the highlight factor himself. Film. Yes, sir. Number 40. Mr. Up and Under, Mr. Drop Step, Mr. 101 Fat Block, Kevin McHale.
Yes, sir.
Wow. All right, coming in at number 39, the Glove, Gary Payton.
Okay.
38, Bob Cousy. Coming in at number 37. The guy who averaged a triple-double in back-to-back seasons, Russell Westbrook.
Chase him. I see it.
Oh, of course. Coming in at 36, Mr. Style himself, Walt Frazier. Coming in at number 35, Chris Paul. Yeah. Okay. You see where this is going, right? Coming in at number 34, two-time MVP, just recently named to the Basketball Hall of Fame, Steve Nash. Number 33, Elvin Hayes. Okay. 32, Rick Barry.
Okay.
Let me say it again. Rick Barry at 32.
Okay.
Rick Barry's, he's at 32. He's, he's higher than Dominique Wilkins. Just want to point that out. 31, Jason Kidd. Okay. Coming in at 30, man, criminally low in my opinion. The big man out of Georgetown, New York Knicks center, Patrick Ewing. D, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, here we go. At number 29, we got the Admiral, David Robinson. I mean, David Robinson. I can't really diss David Robinson at number 29. Not yet, anyway.
Above Patrick Ewing, no less.
Number 28, the answer, ladies and gentlemen. Allen Iverson, 28. Let me say it again. Allen Iverson, 28. And I say that because 27 is Dirk Nowitzki. I mean,
I didn't realize that until you just read it. Damn.
Yes, I read it earlier. Dirk Nowitzki. Come on, man.
Wow.
Number 26 is Mr. KG himself, Kevin Garnett, at 26. Yeah, here we go. 25, John Stockton with the tight shorts and all. John Stockton.
Hey, all-time steals leader, man.
But 24 is John Havlicek.
Oh, my God.
Now, before our time, of course
before our time.
Havlicek before Stockton, we'll get to it later. Number 23, Dwayne Waves, Mr. Miami himself. He's there.
Mr. 305, right. And I ain't talking Pitbull.
He's there. Number 22, none other than Scott Pipp, Mr. Scottie Pippen. Dunked on Pat Ewing and, told my man to sit his ass down. That would be, Spike Lee. Sit your ass down. Number 21, Karl Malone.
Come on, son.
I mean, the mailman did deliver. I can't front on the mailman. He did deliver. But 21 is over Scottie Pippen, Karl Malone.
Come on, son.
And number 20 is the Chuckster himself, Mr. Charles Barkley.
The round mound of rebound.
The round mound of rebound at number 20. Let's go.
All right, Zealous on you. 19.
19. All right. Oh, man. Coming in at number 19. Chef. You know what I mean? The green-eyed bandit. You know what I'm saying? Light skin is back in. Steph Curry.
Ahead of Allen Iverson, no less.
Yeah.
Way ahead.
Number 18, Elgin Baylor.
Okay.
I got an opinion about him, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 17 is my man. My favorite is Mr. Isiah Thomas.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
He probably should have been the first point guard on this. I ain't gonna. You know.
Second point guard. Go ahead. Second point guard.
Yeah. Second point guard.
If you count big cats and stuff like that, but I'm talking about.
I'm only counting one.
I'm talking about legitimate point guard. I ain't talking about big dudes that can dribble.
Magic was legit, son.
Hold on. Let him finish.
But go ahead. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nah,
I'm big dudes who can dribble.
Number 16, Jerry West.
The logo.
Julius Erving, number 15, the Doc.
Okay.
Number 14, Moses Malone, Fo. Number 13.
Wow.
Ooh, man, he need like a real barber. He needs some Beijing on the front just to get that line sharp. Kevin Durant, true personality, double Twitter handle.
Yeah. Burner Twitter.
Kevin Durant, number 12, Hakeem, the Dream, Olajuwon.
Okay.
Come on, son.
Number 11, Big O, Oscar Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
And at number 10, Larry Legend.
It's crazy.
Larry Legend Bird.
Larry Joe Bird is at 10.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let me give you the final 9. Coming in at number 9, the big fundamental, Tim Duncan.
Okay.
Number 8, Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay.
How about that? Coming in at number 7, icon, Mr. Bill Russell.
Okay.
It's criminally low right there. Coming in at number 6, Shaquille Rashaun O'Neal. Can you dig it? Wow.
Somebody could.
Wow. Coming in at number 5. Oh, man. Kobe Bean Bryant at 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
You gotta say it out loud for your fans.
Yeah, I gotta say it, and I gotta say his whole name. Kobe Bean Bryant. Coming in number 4, the captain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Number 3, Irvin Showtime Magic Johnson. Number 2, the king, LeBron James. And coming in at number 1, Black Jesus himself, Mr. Air, MJ, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. All right, so there it is, man. That's the 50, the 50 greatest basketball players, according to Slam Magazine, of all time. I guess before we really start jumping into this, man, one of the most obvious things is, at least to me, and D, I'll start with you first, man. You know, we're talking about players that are crossing different eras. You know, again, all of us are huge basketball fans. And, you know, one of the things that we hear constantly is, you know, could this team have played in this era? Could this player have played in this era? Those type of discussions. And again, that's another, you know, barbershop type of discussion, you know, or like we used to say back home, under the shade tree argument. So should we really compare, you know, players from different eras?
No, we can't. I mean, we've all seen, well, us three, we've seen how, like, in the 80s and the early 90s, that regular fouls and flagrant fouls now are, like, so different.
Right.
And I mean, it's so this is what I try to tell these little Thundercats, man. When I talk to them and they want to have these conversations, it's like, do y'all realize that when Kurt Rambis got clothesline, that was a regular foul. That was a regular foul, yo.
And correct me if I'm wrong, nobody got thrown out of the game, right?
Well, other than that, like when Robert Parrish gave Lambert that 2-piece in Boston, he didn't get tossed either.
Nope.
And he punched him twice. He didn't get tossed that game. So it's different. It's so different. Joe Dumars gets a lot of credit for his defense. I'm not dissing Joe Dumars. Joey D was a great defender. But at the same token, Joey D could also take his hand and put it on your waist and guide you where he wanted to guide you. In today's game, you can't touch players. You dig what I'm saying? You can't touch them. So when I have these conversations with these dudes, these little young cats, I be like, yo, I'm not trying to diss y'all heroes today, but understand that the game is so different. It's so when the Bulls was battling like the Knicks back in the day, they battled for real. They battled, and it's like those fouls, as hard as they were, was like, take your ass to the free throw line and make 2 and shut the hell up. Period. But today, if you foul like that, you're getting tossed. And you might get tossed and lose a game after that. It's different. It's just so different. So, nah, man, I just think you shouldn't compare eras when it comes to comparing great players. That's just my opinion. But, you know, I'm in the minority, of course. I get it. These young dudes want to have their heroes. But at the same token, man, it was just a different game. And when you got players that ball back then compared to how fouls are called now, it was different then than what it is now. It's just different.
True indeed. True indeed. What about you, Zeke? How do you see this, man, as far as comparing eras?
I mean, it's difficult to compare eras because of the style of play. You know, as Derek said, was much different in the 90s. Actually, it was different in the 80s, different in the 70s, different in the 60s.
Right.
Each era had a different style of play that, you know, could potentially impact, you know, the way you approach the game. You know, there was a point in time where fast breaks was frowned upon and people didn't push the ball up the floor. They walked it up and ran a gazillion plays and all this kind of stuff. And so, and with no three-pointer. So right. Imagine trying to play and you ain't got no jumper. And ain't no three-pointer, and you just running, dribbling that thing around the horn looking for a crease. You know what I'm saying?
It's facts.
Imagine if you didn't have a mid-range game, it could knock down a 16-footer or 18-footer. You know, imagine how hard basketball would be. So I think it you know, the game has evolved. It's much faster paced now, even though it's not as physical. It is much faster paced. You know, the scoring is ridiculous. The shooting is ridiculous. You know, they need rest. I mean, if you're in a 82 games and 82 games feel of a lot of transition, you know, that could take a toll on your body in a different kind of way. Not the same way that it would be in the 90s and the 80s where, you know, the pounding was the thing that probably broke you down more so than the pace. Mm-hmm. But, you know, in today's era, it's the pace. So, you know, you're going to have to qualify the way you assess each era. You know, my memory don't go no further back to my knowledge of actually watching it, goes back to the 80s. But, you know, anything before that is strictly YouTube and, you know, and Google. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be able to speak with much knowledge about that. But, no, I don't think you can compare them outright. You know, I think there may be some things you can do, maybe looking at statistics and try to do the best you can by comparing it. But even that still need to be qualified. So it's difficult to compare eras. It's difficult.
Yeah, I agree totally with you guys. I think and, you know, just for the people listening, like I started watching the NBA in 1980. So I've been watching for a long time. Now that don't make me an expert, but I've seen a lot. I'll just put it like that. And somebody breaking something over there, man?
Watch yourself.
That nigga fell off the stool.
You know better than that.
I thought his dishwasher exploded or something, man. But yeah, like I said, I've been watching since 1980, and I mean, so much has changed. I mean, even from the perspective of even how we view the game, because when I was watching, you know, in 1980, NBA games were on tape delay, right? I never forget, like, the game would come on, like sometimes you would see a game that you would get the score on the 6 o'clock news, on your local 6 o'clock news, and then the game would come on at like maybe 9 o'clock, from like 9 to 10:30 and 9 to 11. But you already knew what the score was, so it's just a case of, do you want to sit there and actually watch the game? Now, some of the games weren't on tape delay. Some of the games were live. Anytime you got Boston versus, LA, and that was the year, if I'm not mistaken, that was the year that Magic came in to the league. So that was my first year watching basketball. But it's just hard to compare eras because, like you said, the pace has changed. The athletes now are much bigger, faster, stronger. I can't necessarily say that they're better because there were a lot of freakish athletes in the 80s and 90s. It is literally like night and day. Actually worse than night and day. Like, you can't compare because, like you said, something as simple as flagrant fouls, being able to play defense. I mean, like in the 80s and 90s when you could hand check, you could literally, like you said, with the example of Joe Dumars, who actually was 83 on Slam's list, one behind Kyrie Irving. Wow. But I digress. Even a great defender like Joe Dumars could really manhandle you and take you wherever he wanted to go because he could hand check. Nowadays, so if you take some of the great scorers from the 80s and 90s and you put them in today's game where there's no hand checking, they'd have a field day because, you can't touch them. You can't put your hands on them. So, like you said, Zell, the pace of the game, how the game, is globalized and everything like that, and it's, I don't want to sound like the old guy in the room, even though I might be the old guy in the room, but it's vastly different from before. But the NBA has progressed to the point where in the mid 90s or maybe the early 2000s, they didn't want to, David Stern didn't want to see his NBA games with playoff games where, the final score was 74 to 82. And we had a lot of those games. And so, they wanted to get to a situation where they could push the ball. And it's almost like, kind of like what we see in the NFL, wherein, it's offensive the motive is for the offense. And they want teams to flourish and score a bunch of points. And that's the way it is. Now, playoff basketball comes, is different in the NBA now than it is in the past. And obviously there are less possessions, less up and down the court. You have to play more of a half court game, if you will, but it's just hard to compare eras. It's really hard to compare eras. It's hard to compare, to say if, like we mentioned Steph Curry, if you put Steph Curry in 1988, Steph Curry might be Mark Price, and that's no diss, but that's who he might be. He may not be what he is today. And you take Mark Price out of 88 and you bring him into 2018, he might be Steph Curry. We'll never know. It's good for debate. It's good for fodder. It's good for, podcasts like this. But I just think it's hard when you start comparing eras because it's hard to quantify the player and the style of play. So that got me to thinking about some other things. So now, obviously, and there's a root to this. Obviously, when you start talking about players and you start talking about ranking, their accomplishments are going to come up. So how do you quantify this guy over that guy? And it's about, their accomplishments or whatever. And when you start moving up, the conversation of rings will come into play. So, Zeke, I'll start with you. When it comes to discussing players and their rankings, how much, if at all, should their accomplishments and their rings matter?
Oh, well, I think, you have some measurement. Like, you got to have an argument, If you didn't have anything to measure it by, then, everybody just going to go by whoever had the nastiest crossover, whoever had the nastiest ups. Right. The conversation just merely becomes about, talent. And we all know it's way more to the game than just talent. So you have to have some measurable, something to measure. So, you got to look at statistics. You got to look at championships because, that's just what it is. I don't like it when it's just strictly about championships because, a lot of times with the way the NBA is structured, a lot of times cats can't control where they play. You end up playing for a sucky team, sucky organization, whack coach. You can't. I mean, you're stuck. What if Kevin Garnett would have, left after his first 4 years on his contract, or first 7 years of his contract? Right. What if he would have left and went to the Lakers, or left and went to, someplace where
Marbury would have stayed.
Right. So I don't like to only look at that championships, but I think you do have to definitely give people a bump who have done it. And then, you also got to look at impact because I think, when you talk about players like, I think D was about to mention earlier, Elgin Baylor, Dr. J, Allen Iverson, you talking about people who, George Gervin, who impacted the game in ways that you can't measure. And that has to be somehow still assessed because, I mean, Allen Iverson made, he pretty much turned the league. He made David Stern accept hip hop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he went from Michael Jordan wearing Italian cut suits every night with the hoop earring coming out, articulating his words and everything. Subject and verbs agree. And, this cat was the face of the league, and then here can this dude come out here with cornrows and baggy jeans and Jesus pieces, and
40
he just
bars.
Rapping. And he dropped, what I'm saying, like he did it on the court too, and became probably one of the best, if not the best, little man ever played a game. And you got to give that a bump. No, he didn't win any championships. No, he wasn't. Probably could have done a little, better with his career in terms of working out and doing the right things and taking care of his body. But hey, you gotta be able to look at that impact and say, that's impact that's unparalleled to any other player. So so I think impact, I think statistics, and championships are probably the three biggest categories, and then you kind of go from there.
True indeed. What about you, D?
I mean, I've never really been one to say that rings determine your status in where we rank you. And let me just be clear. I hate rankings because, like you said in the beginning, it's so subjective.
It is.
It's about, what you like, who you like. Did you like the team? Did you like the era? It's so subjective. I really hate top 10, top 5. I hate those. But what I want to talk about real quick was like Elgin Baylor, for instance. I wasn't aware that the season that they lost to Boston, I wasn't even like born. Might have been 69, whatever. But the year he averaged like 30-something, like 37 points and like 20-something rebounds. It was like a crazy number. But at the same time, he was in the military. I didn't know that. He only played on the weekends. I had no clue about that because I wasn't alive. But when I heard that story the other day, because he released a book, he just dropped it, whatever. And it was like he was talking about his life in the NBA and all that stuff. And it was like he only played on Saturdays and Sundays, and he had to fly back to the base on Sunday nights and be in formation on Monday mornings.
Wow.
I was blown away because, like, how do you do that? I remember my days in the military. You don't have time to think about outside life. So for him to leave on Friday night or whatever and go wherever the Lakers were and then play on Saturday and Sunday and still average 37 and like 20-something rebounds was ridiculous. That's ridiculous to me. But we don't really recognize him because, number one, he didn't win a title. So because he didn't win a title, people overlook him. But Elgin Baylor was like so dope. His numbers are so dope considering what he went through, and we never give him the credit for that because he didn't win a title. So I hate throwing the whole title thing in. Like, are you trying to tell me that Pat Ewing wasn't dope because he didn't win a title? Are you telling me that Charles wasn't dope because he didn't win a title? Karl Malone wasn't dope because he won a title? It just, I could name so many people who didn't win a title, but they were great. And I hate throwing the whole title thing in there. So I try to look at it from a perspective of what was their total impact. And back to what Zeke said, like AI, his impact was so much greater than just his crossover He made the league accept hip hop. He really did. Like, they were like, what the hell is happening right now? And this little dude came into the league. He's like, he has tattoos. He got cornrows, and he got a mixtape. What the hell is this? What the hell is going on right now? So his impact was so major. Like, there's so many dudes in the league right now with arm full of tats. And people look at the game now, and they look at like LeBron. They look at Birdman. I'm thinking about dudes who got like a bunch of tattoos,
J.R.
and they look
Smith.
at them like, they look at them like it's acceptable, but it wasn't always acceptable society-wise
Right.
before AI. AI came in, and he was the one that had all the tats and the cornrows and the baggy joints, and the league and people who watched the league had to look at it like they're regular, just like me. So, yeah, maybe AI didn't win the whole thing, but yo, his impact was so major that when you look at a list like this, it's like, I guess if you like light skin and blue eyes, you can do that. You know, the cute and cuddly. We're going to discuss that too. If you like the cute and cuddlies, you can like that, but understand that AI was somewhere that the league was not ready for just yet.
And to add to that, D and Derek, I mean, and Kyle, you know, as far as we were talking about championships, I think another thing you do have to look at, maybe not so much about championships, the ring, but I do think you have to have led your team in having a winning team. Like, I don't think you don't have to be a championship team, but I think you need to have one. Now, you can't just be like Jimmy Jackson. You know what I mean? You know,
wow.
You know, you just can't be cat
Triple
that's
J's.
just like a journeyman who just put up numbers who didn't really have impact with winning. So I do think winning has to have a factor in there. I agree with you, D. I don't think it should just be championships or you whack. But like Patrick Ewing, he won. I mean, he was, you know, he played in the same era as Michael Jordan. I mean, so you got to get that. You know, Michael Jordan just kicked his butt. Nothing he could do about it. You know, so I do think winning and being able to lead your team into having a successful winning record counts. Part of your stats.
No doubt. And D, I actually pulled this thing up here while you were talking about Elgin Baylor.
27-14.
They were,
Rear.
This particular year, 61-62, Elgin Baylor finished fourth in MVP voting. Elgin Baylor averaged 38 points.
Come on now.
18 rebounds a game.
Come on now. Come on
Playing
now.
44 minutes a game. And he finished fourth. All right?
Come on, man.
So listen close. He finishes fourth. Coming in at third, Oscar Robertson. This is the year that he averaged a triple-double. He did not win the MVP. He averaged 30, 12 rebounds, 11 points a game. 11 assists a game.
Come on, man.
He came in third. Coming in at second, Wilt Chamberlain.
Come on. How much he averaged?
He averaged 50 points.
50. Come
50
on,
points,
man.
25 rebounds a game.
Come on, man. Come on.
50 points, 25 rebounds a game. And he finished second. The guy who finished first was the great Bill Russell.
I know better. I know we know better. We know better.
Yeah, and I ain't even drinking. Bill Russell, he averaged 19 points, 23 rebounds a game. And he won the MVP. And I'm pretty sure Boston won I wasn't around at 62, but I'm pretty sure Boston won the finals that year. So that just goes to show you how competitive it was. And again, we started the conversation by talking about Elgin Baylor, and he's fourth. He's fourth in MVP voting.
Come on, man.
So that kind of leads credence to what we're talking about as far as, you know, these lists and stuff and why it can be problematic. To answer the question, I think, you know, the accomplishments, you know, all-star games and you know, whatever other accolades that you get, and according, you know, to others, and I will admit rings, they do matter. They do count for something, because that's, you know, how you, I guess, stack up against the competition. But it can't be the only thing. And I find it interesting as someone being tenured in basketball that I don't remember the conversation, and I can't can't blame Mike, but I will blame Mike because I don't remember the conversation prior to Mike winning the rings. I don't remember the conversation really being about rings. When Bird and Magic were winning rings in the 80s, I don't remember the conversation being about how many rings they had, and it was such an emphasis on the rings. And maybe it was because in Jordan we saw something that we probably didn't think we'd ever see again, and he did it with such dominance or what have you. But the conversation turned to rings, and I mean, like, it became a huge sticking point for people. And again, we read off the list. You look and see where Karl Malone is on the list, and Karl Malone does not have any rings, but yet he is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. That should count for something, and he's 21 on the list. You would think that if, the guy who leads the league in points, hell, the guy who he passed, Kareem, is at 4.
Wait. Did he pass Kareem?
I'm sorry. You know what? My bad. He did not. He's second.
That's my argument.
Is he second?
Thank you.
Okay,
he might be second.
Okay.
And MJ third. Okay. Don't do that to my argument.
Okay, my bad. So my point in even saying that is Karl Malone again. He's in the top 5 as far as scoring, and he's not there. So I don't try to lend a lot of credence to that because I think it's a slippery slope, because then you start saying, okay, well, how much did this person contribute to the ring? I mean, because, and we throw out the old Robert Horry argument. He's got, 7 rings? So what does that matter? Does that mean he's better than, Jordan? Does that mean he's better than Pippen? Does that mean he's better than Shaq? So I don't put so much into rings. I know when the discussion comes, and we'll touch on it a little later, between some other guys, some of the newer cats, that always comes up. One other question I had about this when it comes to these lists, and D, I'll start with you. When people are talking about these lists, obviously, you have your favorites. Why do you think people can't separate? Because I'll tell anybody, my favorite player to ever play the game is Michael Jordan. My second favorite player is Allen Iverson. I would watch Allen Iverson play. If Allen Iverson is prime, I would watch over anybody on this list in his prime. Anybody. He's my second favorite, but I can't say that he's the second greatest player in NBA history. So my question to you, D, is why is it so hard for people to separate their favorites? And, because somebody feels like they're their favorite, that they're the greatest. Like if you're a Kobe fan, or you're a LeBron fan, or you're a Jordan fan, or you're a Shaq fan, and because you're their fan, you automatically feel like they're the greatest, even though they may not be.
I happen to attribute the answer to that question to social media.
Okay.
Like, people are scared to say what they feel because social media as a whole may not agree with them. For instance, my favorite player is Magic. Mm-hmm. I think y'all both know that about me.
No question.
My favorite player is Magic, but I believe that the greatest of all time is Kareem. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kareem got 4 high school championships, 3 college, and 6 pro. Shut the hell up, everybody. I don't understand why we even have this conversation. But there's some people who are scared to say that they don't like LeBron, or they don't like Magic, or they don't like Mike. They're fearful of the backlash from social media. And that really is funny to me, because whenever I see people who have these conversations or have these arguments, as they want to call them, I always ask them, like, what's your criteria? Like, right. Is your criteria like Fox News and ESPN, or is it what you really feel? Because if it's what you really feel, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand what your argument is. You're arguing a point that does not make sense. This list to me, as a matter of fact, the top 5 is ridiculous. We'll get to that later. But I want people to just express how you really feel and forget social media. But I think that social media has taken a toll on people's ability to express their own opinion. There are so many people who are afraid to say that I like LeBron more than Michael Jordan because A, B, C, and D. They're so afraid to just You can say it. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a problem to say it. But when the Michael Jordan fans come back and say, well, he won 6 titles, you can actually combat that if you're true to what you feel. But some people are so afraid. They're just so afraid to get this social media backlash, as if you will disagree on Facebook, somebody's gonna come to your house and slap you. I do not. I really don't get I don't get why you're so scared to admit that you like LeBron more than MJ. And by the way, a lot of people nowadays on social media, the younger ones, to be exact, the Thundercats, you didn't see Mike play.
Right.
You have an actual legitimate reason for liking LeBron more. You didn't see Mike. You didn't see what Mike went through with the Pistons and the Celtics and the Trailblazers. You didn't see it. Mm-hmm. You heard about it. You might have seen some clips, but you didn't live it. So you actually have legitimate reasoning for why you like LeBron more. But for whatever reason, you're scared that social media is going to jump down your throat and say, you can't like LeBron more than Michael Jordan. That's crazy. It's actually not crazy if you look at the eras in which they actually saw the players play. Right. I don't get it. They're so scared. Just be you. I don't get it.
True indeed. Or just say, hey, I didn't see Jordan play. I didn't see Jordan in his prime. I saw. Exactly. You know. Yeah. I mean, it's. I totally agree. What about you, Zell? How do you see that?
I mean, I think I think that's a good point D made, just about social media and the influence it has on everyone's opinions. For me, I think I look at basketball totally different, because I played a little bit, right? So I understand.
Oh, a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I played a little bit. I mean, and so the way I look at it is, I mean, I can't, if I see somebody play and I see something impressive, I guess the basketball junkie in me won't allow me to just disrespect somebody's skill set because I like another person. Like, that's just nuts. You know what I mean? So I look at it through a lens of, if someone is talented, they're talented, and I can't take nothing away from talent. When you are top 10 or top 5 player that ever played a game, and there's arguments about nuances about who was better, I mean, you don't get to be great in basketball at the level that we're talking about here. We're talking about the top 100 players ever to play. I mean, ain't a whole bunch of luck in that. I mean, that's hard work. That's talent. That's, overcoming a lot of odds. That's eating and living and breathing basketball. So, from that perspective, I always, draw a line between, my little subjective thing. I may not like the way this cat did this interview. I may not like this team. I ain't like the fact Mike didn't do nothing say nothing about black people for 20 years. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you don't like. You know what I'm saying? I had to throw that shot in there for Kyle.
Hey, I mean, it's the truth. I can't dispute that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, so I think those are the things that kind of sway, people's opinions. You got a favorite team, you got a favorite guy. If you haven't really, I think step out of that fandom and kind of just look at everything in an objective way. If you've never done that, I mean, there's sometimes you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just gotta give it up. Like, you gotta give it up. People used to call white chocolate when he came into the league. I was anybody could be nice.
Hey, you did used to shit on white chocolate for real.
You did. Yeah, you did.
You shit so hard on white chocolate back in the day.
After a while, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I feel you on that.
So you gotta be, you gotta be objective at the end of the day. But yeah, I do think people gotta step out of fandom, and you can evaluate the game and look at what people actually do outside of your fandom. You should be able to respect what a lot of people bring to the table.
I agree with that. I think, one of the hardest things it is, at least in details on as far as social media, it's okay to say, nah, I ain't really like him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and be true to that conviction. You know, if I say, well, nah, you know, I liked, you know, Isiah, or like I might say, okay, I didn't like Isiah as a person. I didn't like the Pistons, but I give him his props. He was a hell of a basketball player. That's okay to say. Or say, hey, I hated, you know, the 96 Bulls because they ran over my Milwaukee Bucks. Whatever the case may be. And I think one thing people tend to, and I see this a lot on social media, one thing people tend to get twisted is that it's okay to like more than one superstar. Like,
wow.
This whole new generation of, like you said, Thundercats. Anybody knows me. I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan, right? I live in Atlanta, support the home team, whatever. I mean, we suck, so it's okay.
Garbage.
I mean, we are. I mean, you know, the Hawks will. If the Hawks win a championship, I hope it happens in my lifetime. But I'll say this though, I'm such a fan of basketball that even though I don't personally like Kobe. I've said this plenty of times. I said it on the Dead End Sports podcast a lot. Like, Kobe Bryant is somebody I could never see me hanging out with Kobe. Like, if I knew Kobe, like, I still wouldn't hang out. I wouldn't be like, yo, Kobe, let's go get a drink. But if Kobe's on TV, even though I hated the Lakers, even though I didn't like Kobe personally, Kobe was bad as hell, and I really enjoyed watching him play. And I think one of the things that, at least for me on a personal note, I think like there were some years that I think we missed some of his greatness because we were caught up in, well, I like Kobe, I like this guy, I like Allen Iverson, so I can't watch Kobe. Today's fans have more access. I started the podcast by saying how I watch games on tape delay. You ain't had no choice when the game was on tape delay. If the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns were playing, damn it, that's who you were watching. There was no league pass. You couldn't change the channel. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's okay to like the players because these are generational players, and understand that at some point in time they're going to get old. They're going to retire. I mean, like, we never thought we'd see a day where, you know, Magic would retire, where Bird would retire, where Kareem would retire, where Jordan would retire. And that time happens. And the same will happen for today's stars as well. So you enjoy them while they're here. And then you don't want to miss what they have. But I think, you know, people need to just kind of chill on that and understand that it's okay to like somebody. It's okay to dislike somebody. But, you know, be honest and just be honest with yourself and be honest with others, and understand that if somebody doesn't like it, you know, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't warrant an argument. And you arguing with me on social media isn't gonna make me like that player anymore just because because I said I didn't like him. So I tell you what, let's take a quick commercial and we'll come back. And on the other side of the break, we're gonna break down this list, man. We're gonna have a little fun with it. So sit tight. We'll be back in just a second.
What was your trash talk with Michael like? Was there a level of respect toward each other?
Always. I mean, I wouldn't, without Michael Jordan, I wouldn't have had the vision. You know what I mean? He made me want to play basketball. You know, I honestly wanted to be like Mike. You know what I mean? And, you know, that commercial meant so much to me because I was one of the people that wanted to be like Mike. So I owe a lot to him. That's why I thanked him the way I did in my Hall of Fame speech, because, you know, I really believe that as a basketball player, if it wasn't for Michael Jordan, there wouldn't be no Allen Iverson.
And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy, 12 Kyle, the 12 Kyle podcast. Got my boys up in here. I'm talking about the homies from way back. D Love Hall and Easy Does It VA in the building. We're talking about Slam's 50 greatest players of all time in the NBA, or maybe not so much 50 greatest. D, you said you wanted to address something right before we went to commercial break.
I mean, yeah, I want to address something real quick. Like, all the Michael Jordan fans in the world, don't hate me. I don't like him. I never did, so don't really hate me on this. But Michael Jordan fans as a whole, can y'all admit finally that one of the main reasons why, especially you, Kyle, why y'all didn't like Kobe is because he was too close. He was too much of a carbon copy of y'all homeboy MJ. Can y'all admit that finally? Because a lot of y'all was like, y'all didn't want to admit it out loud, but can y'all admit that shit now?
I've always given Kobe his props on the court. Honestly, I don't have any problem with him studying Come Fly With Me for 15,000 hours, however he did, just to mimic Mike's moves.
Wow.
I ain't got no problem with that. My problem, Kobe just always, just from interviews and, the stuff that we heard, and the whole Shaq thing, he just sounded like a dude like you just didn't want to hang with. And, all those years Kobe was in LA, when Kobe said like his closest teammate was like Luke Walton or some shit, I was like, come on, man, really? That's your favorite teammate of all time, Luke Walton? But nah, it wasn't it wasn't anything that had to do with basketball. My disdain for Kobe was just strictly on who I thought he was personally. And again, I don't know. I've never met Kobe before. If I saw Kobe on the street, I say what's up and keep it moving. It's nothing personal. But he doesn't seem like somebody I would want to hang out with. Now, Allen Iverson, I would want to hang out with Allen Iverson. I don't know what would go down if I hung out with Allen Iverson.
Okay, but seriously, before the rape charge, all right, before the rape charge happened in Utah and that whole situation, Kobe was loved.
Well, Kobe always was loved, but you know what the problem was
before the rape charge.
But herein lies the problem, and this is not just Kobe, but Kobe and Shaq. And I told you this before, and I told you and one of my other partners who's a diehard LA Lakers fan. I, as a Laker hater, I felt like if they had stuck it together, Kobe and Shaq, they would have taken the game to a whole nother level. And I told you, I thought that they let some petty shit get in between them, and it destroyed what could have been. Now we touched a little bit about rings. There's no doubt in my mind that Kobe and Shaq would have had at least 8 or 9 rings, at the very least, because nobody was touching them.
8 or 9?
K-Dot, stop.
We've had this discussion.
Not me and you.
Yes, we have.
Not me and you.
Yes, we have. You were drunk. We must have been drunk.
Dude, I'm drunk now. I remember. I might have said 5 or 6. Not no 8 or 9.
I think they would have won 8 or 9.
Let's be clear. Kobe Bean Bryant was not hated the way he got hated before he told the police that he should have paid.
Yeah, that changed a lot.
That changed everything.
I can't
everything.
Well, now I can't speak for everybody else.
Everything.
I didn't. That wasn't cool for me.
It changed everything. Kobe was not hated. Now Kobe might have had.
No. Hold up, D. Kobe was hated. He was hated. He wasn't hated as much.
Not like that. Not like that.
No.
Yeah, and I think y'all, I think the nuanced difference is like the media. I think Kobe was a media darling. He was loved by the media.
Yes.
And he was propelled. I think he was put because he was. Everybody was looking for the next Michael Jordan.
Yep.
And when he came around and all that, I do think he was loved and he was a media darling. Now I do think there was some Kobe made some faux pas. He did some stuff that I would say the urban demographic, you know what I mean, that we probably did not buy into the Kobe Bryant brand.
Right.
We probably didn't because it didn't look as authentic as Mike, or it didn't look as authentic as AI. So right. It was the media who kind of put him on that platform, and I think it's going to be difficult for people who like AI and then like Kobe. It's just like
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Kobe was rapping and stuff like that. He was trying to be
in Italian.
Yeah. He was trying to appease.
You have bars in Italian, man.
Yes, listen, man. He was trying to appease to that demographic, but I think as far as the commercial success, he was loved, and then all the commercial success started collapsing after the rape, and then when he started snitching on Shaq, that's when all the brothers. That's when all the brothers was like, "Yeah, I can't do."
Right. It was a rap.
Yeah, I think it's but nah, again, my disdain for
This
Kobe.
man talking.
My disdain for Kobe just, it wasn't anything like that. I mean, again, and I always preface my comments by saying he was a phenomenal basketball player. And I told you, even when those latter years, man, I really enjoyed watching him play because I know, and I knew for a fact then, and I said it, we weren't going to see anything like that again. And I think sometimes, again, like I mentioned earlier, you get so caught up into your guy or your guys that you sometimes as a fan, man, you just got to stop and appreciate the talent that's on that court, man, because we don't see that kind of talent coming. We get different variations of it, but we just don't see it coming. So I think that's something to definitely be appreciated. So let's jump into this list, man. I'm just gonna throw out some random players, man, and you tell me. All you gotta say is too high, too low, or just about right. D. Larry Bird at 10. Too high, too low, or just about right.
I might. You know what? That might be just about right today. Maybe 5 years ago, I'd have said too low, but now, as I'm looking at the others in front of him, like I can't think of. Hold on, let me look one more time. Yeah, it might be just right because I really can't think of who I would put behind him in the top 10. Like Larry Bird did his thing in the 80s, and he was nice. He did, but
Okay.
See, for me to say it's too low, that would mean there's somebody in front of him I can move. And quite honestly, I can't look at this list and say I would move him from 10. I can't put him in front of Duncan, but Chamberlain, Russell. Yeah, he might be just right.
Okay.
Actually, he might be just right.
Okay. Zeke, I mean, I know the answer, but too high, too low, or just about right. Isiah Thomas.
He got personal. I gotta get personal.
Man, I mean, look, statistically, he's probably not going to be above any of them people. But, like I said, the argument about impact, I still think that you have to weight that at some level. I mean, I don't know how you quantify it, but, as far as the little man being able to lead a team to a championship and do it twice and probably should have had 3 in a row, went for a phantom jump hook call.
Oh, shut up, man. Get over it, man. Get over it.
I mean,
He said, Lambeer fouled fucking Kareem. Shut up.
Hey.
Phantom
so
call.
with that bullshit that's called, he probably would go down. It's probably one of the significant little men ever play. So in that regard, I think he probably needs to go up. I even have comments about even Larry Bird maybe having to go up, but I think Derek's argument is legit in terms of
I could definitely move Bird up.
Who would you replace?
I could move Shaq down and move Bird up.
No, that's too far. But look, let me tell you. But let me say this about Larry Bird. See, that's another impact question, right? Because in the 80s, and if you want to talk about what him and Magic did, and they around there being rivals, and for the 80s, they pretty much brought the NBA, and you needed a Larry Bird. Let's just keep it a buck because he was white, right? And you had to have the white boy in the NBA that could compete with the brothers, and he did that. And he was able to build that fan base because everybody was rooting, who you like, Magic or you like Bird. And
Bird was so cold, too. He was so cold.
So, now look, absent of that now, if you take that narrative away from Larry Bird, of course, he's good where he needs to be, right there at 10. Mm-hmm. But if you want to talk about that impact, definitely would probably bump him even above Tim Duncan. Not statistically, not because he's a better player, only because his impact to the NBA was far greater than Tim Duncan's. Everybody know Tim Duncan don't give a damn, but he don't care nothing about basketball. That nigga like swimming.
He don't even get a haircut. He had the same shape up for 20 years, B.
And I view Isiah through the same lens because I think, you rarely saw a little man be the focal point of a team and win championships consistently or win consistently. That's difficult, without having like a big man, especially in the 80s, having a big man or, somebody that was 6'6" and up, it's just difficult to do. So I would say up because of impact, not because of the numbers.
Okay. So
where's Isiah? Where's Isiah at right now?
Isaiah's at 17.
I mean, he should be ahead of Kevin Durant. Yeah, okay. I had to find him. Yeah, you're right. Correction. You're right.
So D, what about you? Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley, where is he at? Charles Barkley's at 20. Oh, hell yeah. Definitely above Light and Cuddly. He's definitely above him. Give a damn about that titles. Oh, no shout-outs. No shout-outs. He should be above Kevin Durant. I don't care about that title.
You don't have to tell me where you would put him. Just whether or not he is he where he needs to be. Should he be higher, lower, or
he should be higher? Okay. He should be higher. Kevin Durant shouldn't be the top 20 because if you look at Golden State, how they're playing right now without Steph, with Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and with Klay Thompson, your boy ain't showing up.
Okay.
So that alone should Charles Barkley should move up from that alone. So let's take Durant and put him at 20 and move Chuck up.
Okay.
Chuck should be 18. Put Steph at least Steph at 19 and put Durant at 20. Fuck that shit. I don't care.
Okay, so you got Durant in the top 20.
Yes. He'll be in 20.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. Zeke, what about you? Would you put Durant in the top 20?
All time. Fuck that. I was gonna change him.
All time.
Just off the top of your head.
No, look at 21, 22 and change them for me.
Karl Malone's at 21.
Top 20 of all time right now, Kevin Durant. I would have to say, regrettingly, I have to probably say, I'm gonna have to say no.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Drop him.
I'm gonna have to say no.
Okay. All right. Zeke, Chris Paul at 35. Up, down, or is he about where he should be?
35, Chris Paul. I think he's definitely in the next. He's definitely in the next 10 or 20. So I say it's close. I mean, I don't really know about yeah, I think he's about where he needs to be.
Okay. What about you, D? Chris Paul.
I would switch him with Clyde Frazier.
Okay.
I would switch him. It's close enough.
Yeah, so that's close. I mean, you only bumping it down one.
Yeah. It ain't like it's not like pissing me off when I see it. Him and Clyde, I would switch him and Clyde up a little bit right there. And that's only because he ain't won yet.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go. Okay, Zeke.
Oh shit, you laugh.
Scottie Pippen.
He's too low.
Scottie Pippen's at 22.
22. Scottie Pippen got 5 rings. Scottie Pippen
six of them.
Sorry.
Don't short
I'm sorry.
Scott.
I want to shortchange Mr. Beijing.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he definitely need to be above Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is probably the big question mark on the list.
Okay.
To be quite honest, at 13, and because I got to give the history. Like we just talked about Elgin Baylor, and we just talked about some of these other guys. Average 50 points a game. I mean, we can't just poo-poo on that. Bill Russell averaged 20 rebounds for his career.
Wow.
I mean, that's just stupid stuff. I mean, I know it's against a bunch of little
6'5".
Yeah,
YMCA
but it's still
dudes.
20 boards a game. I mean, 20 boards a game. And he averaged like 15 points.
And
so
it was like 8 teams in the league that back then, right?
He averaged 20 boards a game.
Something like that.
He ain't coming up off
boards. Yeah, he
20 boys. I got you.
20 boys. I think they played a whole bunch of goddamn games, though. Then they still play like 60, 70 games, though, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I'll say he needs to go up. I'll say I give him up. I just don't know where up, but I'll say up.
Okay.
Off of the mic shit, I give him. His daddy get him up the list.
Daddy. This dude is so disrespectful,
know, right?
man.
Let's go to Dominique at 41. Dominique Wilkins.
Dominique at 41. Let me see.
Moving him
Dominique
up, moving him down, or is he about right where he needs to be?
Bob Cousy, Russell Westbrook. Actually, as much as I hate to say it, as I look above him, basically, yeah, you know what? That might be right. Neek at 41 might be, because Neek played absolutely no defense. I mean, that might
people on this list play defense.
Well, above Neek, if we go by the list, I'm going by the list. I'm just going by the list. There's a bunch of dudes in front of him that actually play defense. So
some, not all, but okay, I get your point.
I mean, what did Neek? Okay, for you,
that's always been a knock on it. And it's not me just trying to defend Neek because he's Atlanta, but I mean, like, honestly, I think. If I had to place him, I think 41 is about right. I think he's. Yeah,
I think so too. I think it's about right.
You could probably make a case to try to put him, in the next tier, which would be no lower than 30. But who in that 30? Okay. If I okay,
would you move? Right. See,
Rick Barry's
when you ask that question,
Rick Barry's at 32. I might just because I love Dominique, I might move. And that's just me being a hater. Not even a hater, but just love Dominique. I might move Dominique down.
And that goes back to I didn't see Rick Barry play. I've heard stories about Rick Barry and the underhand free throws, and he did bring a championship to Golden State back in the day. I heard about that, but I didn't see him play. So
you know what? I didn't. I take that back. I didn't. I think Rick Barry was done. If he wasn't done, he was on the downside of his career, and it's just like
right.
When people talk about, in fact, we got into a real heated discussion. Well, I don't want to say heated. Me and some of my boys, we got into a discussion about Kareem, and I made the point that Kareem, at least I saw Kareem on the downside of his career. Now, yeah, he still was dropping that sky hook, and nobody was blocking it, but at the same time, Kareem never carried the Showtime Lakers like that. You always associated their championships with Magic. And even though Cat was on the team, and it wasn't like he was a scrub on the team, it wasn't no nights where he was just where you throw him the ball and say, "Yo, Cap, go get us 40." That type.
Yeah,
of
but don't forget, Milwaukee got a championship.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No question. But again, that championship happened before I was born. So
I'm just saying, don't forget it happened.
No doubt. No, he did that before. I mean, like his you can't dump on Kareem at all.
436.
Okay, let me get one more. I just had it. Patrick Ewing.
I'm gonna tell you where
at 30, Patrick Ewing.
I want to hear this.
I mean, I got a soft spot for Pat.
Yes, sir. We do. We both do.
So if I had to look at the guys that don't have rings, I would consider probably him and Barkley as my two greatest to not have rings.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yes.
And I think he would probably go above John Stockton, who doesn't have a ring.
Okay.
So looking at the list,
yes.
John Stockton at 25.
Okay. So you move Pat from 30 to 25.
I mean, if I had to that's my Nick bias in me saying that. I think,
and that's my Hoyer Destroyer bias.
Yeah, I think he had a significant career. I think, they said about the mystery lottery ball and all this kind of things to try to bring New York relevant again. I just think he had a big time impact on the NBA more than what people give him credit for. And and I think John Stockton, I think 25 is high for but I know he led the NBA in assists, so you got to have somebody around this big passing the ball.
You know, I you know what? I need to find out, or I need to look up John Havlicek's stats.
No, his John Havlicek stats is kind of crazy, B.
Yeah. Are they? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll be the first to admit, I don't know.
Hey, listen, I looked at him a long time ago. I'm a now, but I remember when I saw him, I was like, damn. Like,
I stand pat. Then I stand pat.
All right. So I got two more. D, I'll start with you. I want to get both of your opinions on this one. Russell Westbrook at 37.
Hold on, let me find out where he at. 37.
He's at 37.
Oh, frick. Okay. Wait a minute.
I can make a case that that's too high.
I
can make it.
So how do you view Chris Paul then?
Honestly, I probably wouldn't have Chris Paul that high. Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook would be a top 50, I guess.
Would you have Chris Paul before Russell Westbrook after last night?
I mean,
would you have Chris Paul?
Honestly, I would.
Over Westbrook?
I'd have Chris Paul over Russell Westbrook. And I admire the triple double average or whatever like that, but it's what, D, to be honest, I could see myself making up a list, and if I had Russell Westbrook at, let's say, 40 and Chris Paul at 39, like there won't be much difference between them. Like, so I wouldn't have one 10 points higher than the other one.
Okay, well let me say this then. Let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just personally. I would have Clyde Frazier at 35, Cousy at 36, Ayton at 37, McHale at 38, Westbrook at 39, and then Paul at 40. Okay. That's what I would do. I would switch all that shit.
Okay, got it.
Because as much as I like Chris Paul, he hasn't done much more than Westbrook has done with less. And I know Westbrook has been padding stats and all that jazz. But at the same token, you still got to get those boards. You still got to get those. You got to get them. And Chris Paul, as much as I like him, he hasn't done much to separate himself that much to me from Westbrook. So I have them like, you know what? I moved Dominique up above them too. I put him at 40 and 41 and put Dominique up ahead of them. So
you still got him back to back.
Yeah. Okay. I have back to back, but I have Dominique ahead of them.
Okay. What about you, Zeke?
Russell Westbrook?
Yeah. Too high, too low, or just about right.
Man, he above 37. He above the logo.
Wow.
Is it?
Wow. He's getting it started now.
So you put him above Jerry West at 16?
I'm sorry. I misread it. I'm looking at Bob Cousy. I thought
okay.
No, I'm sorry. No, scratch that.
Okay.
I'm thinking about Bob Cousy, Jerry West, the same. They like the same white boys to me. But anyway,
so disrespectful.
Nah, Russell Westbrook, man. I mean, it's a preference, man. Some things are preference.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no doubt what he brings to the game. His tenacity is unparalleled, and the way he approaches basketball is simply just, some days I'd be like, what the fuck? So I got to get
you too?
I'm not a big fan of the style of play. I'm just going to keep it 100 on that now. I'm just not a big fan of, my point guard leading me in all the damn stats. I'm not a big fan.
Right.
So because of style and preference, I think it might be slightly high.
Okay.
You know, because he's a 2 guard playing point guard. Everybody know that. I don't know why nobody won't say that.
Oh, they won't do that. They won't ever say that.
So
He's actually a tweener. He ain't even a 2 guard. He's just like a tweener ass.
Yeah, because he doesn't really technically shoot well enough to be a 2 guard.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna tell you what's impressive about Russell Westbrook, that the entire organization is scared of him because they refuse to put another point guard with this nigga. If they would have got a point guard and slid that nigga to the 2, KD would still be in Oklahoma City.
You're right.
Wow.
No, he's right. He's right.
All right, last one from this list. D. 23. D Wade. Dwayne Wade.
Ooh.
Too high, too low?
Mr.
Just about right.
Let's see. 23. Started February.
D Wade rated.
Let's say it. He said it. I didn't. I agree with it. He might be, honestly, too high.
Okay.
I might put AI above him. I might put David Robinson above him. I might put Kevin Garnett above him. I might put, oh God, I can't say, don't tell my daddy I said this shit out loud, y'all. Don't tell my daddy. I might put John Stockton above him.
Wow.
Yeah, I said, don't tell my dad. Don't tell my dad.
I'm about to text your dad right now.
Oh my God. And that's shit. No. Well, okay, listen. I might not put Jason Kidd above him, but I didn't know that Jason Kidd's stats were so dope. I didn't know. Like his 3-point percentage and his assist, I didn't know that he shot so many threes. Mm-hmm. I missed that part of his career. So I might put Wade closer to 30 than 23. Yeah. I mean, if according to the list, I might put him closer to 30 than 23.
Okay. What about you, Zell?
I definitely think D Wade gets way too much credit. You know how people we talked about the categories, about impact, about statistics, and then about championships and winning. Mm-hmm. He gets way too much credit for winning.
Yeah.
He gets way too much. In some arguments, it's the thing that tips you over where he won. Well, he won, or he got a championship, or he got one there. In DA's case, that is the only thing that keeps him in the top tier in history. I mean, I hear people saying he's the top 2 guards in the history. I mean, I've heard that even be said, and I just don't know I don't know if he ever was. I don't know if he was ever the best player on any of his championship teams. I'm just. I don't know what happened.
Yo, man, what are you doing?
Yo, D. Hey, Derek Thompson.
Hey, man, I can't deal with you right now, man. I deal with you.
It sounds like Safari just got robbed. Run the jewels. Are you okay?
Hey, man. I'm gravy, dog. I'm listening to you break it down for me real quick.
Oh my gosh, man!
It sounded crazy over there. It's like you getting robbed, dog. It's like somebody
Vietnam.
It was like all your black and miles. I mean, all those is gone. But no, that's what I think about D-Wade.
Right.
I think history has been very kind to his career, in terms of his impact to. I mean, I think his biggest asset in his career is being cool with LeBron. I said it, and I'm sorry. And I think
you ain't sorry.
And listen, and the biggest thing he did in his career, it was date Gab. I give him props on the Gab.
Wow.
on the Gab bag. Good bag on that.
He's right though.
Okay,
Wow.
I mean that's it. That's all I got.
I would honestly. I think D Wade's too high. I can make a case for moving him down about 10 slots. And there's no disrespect on his game because I think he's a phenomenal player. But yeah, man, I just when he was on top, you know, he definitely shined. But 50 greatest, nah, I think 23 is just a little too high. A little too high for my
Hey, he had an Iguodala. He had an Iguodala.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? He was like, you know how them cats dead. They dead Iguodala to shoot, and he just Jay.
Yep, jam him to death.
The people don't remember how they did D Wade in that championship game. They let D Wade shoot.
Yeah,
That's how he
kept,
and he made them.
He kept scoring.
They wasn't gonna let Shaq beat him.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's address the elephant in the room, man.
Did you talk about the Laker bias in the top 10? Are you talking about that?
Whoa.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that before we get out of here.
No, we cannot. No, we cannot.
Yes, we can.
Is there a Laker bias in the top 10?
Let's see. Let's run off the top 10. Let's see. There's a Laker at. There's a former Laker at number 8 in Wilt. Shaq at 6. Kobe at 5.
Shut up, man. No damn Laker. Shut up.
Kareem at 4. Magic at 3. Yeah. You know what?
Shut up. Don't bite into this shit. Don't bite into this shit.
There's a lot of Lakers up there.
There's a lot of Lakers.
Don't get mad that we got the best niggas in the league.
And folks, if you haven't figured it out by now, my man D Love all over there is a diehard Laker fan. Now he is a true Laker fan. He's not one of those people that came when Kobe got there. I mean, like he's been riding with the Lakers. And he don't even like Kobe.
And look, and quiet as it kept, there's a lot of Laker love and it's a lot of Boston hate. Like the Boston hate on here is significant. Like
it's right. Shut up. It's right. The only thing that's wrong about this list is number 1 and number 4. That's what's wrong.
No.
I see it.
So what's the elephant in the room, Kyle?
The elephant in the room. I mean, when I saw the list and I went and checked out a couple of websites or whatever where people were talking about it. People had. I didn't see a lot of people have any issue with who was at number 1. Quite a few people had an issue with who was at number 2, being LeBron James, and Kobe was at 5.
Get over it.
So, if the debate, it's been a talking point. Even heard the pundits, the talking heads on ESPN, go as far as to say that LeBron at this point in his career, and it could have been based on how well he was playing this year because he was phenomenal this season, in 2018. The second best player of all time. Could you conceive, or if you're making a list, do you put LeBron over Kobe at this point? Let's just say at the time of this recording, it's 2018. The playoffs have yet to start. Let's assume that LeBron does not win any more championships. He doesn't win any more MVPs. He doesn't win any more scoring titles. His career ends tomorrow because he got hooked on cocaine white women.
Okay.
So, do you put him over Kobe? Do you put him at 2 on this list? You know what?
What? I can put him over Kobe.
Okay.
But not at number 2.
Okay. Where would you put LeBron at?
Maybe 4. Maybe.
Okay, so
get mad, LeBron fans. I don't care.
Give me your top 5. Give me your 5.
Kareem's number 1.
Okay.
Mike's number 2. Magic's number 3. I don't want to say his number 4, but y'all know who I'm talking about. Number 4, the dude who's playing right now, who's playing in Cleveland.
We don't know.
He plays in Cleveland. The little bald head motherfucker who keeps trying to hide it.
Why you can't say LeBron's 4?
Because I don't like them motherfuckers. That's why I don't say it. Don't make me say it. Don't make me say
man.
it.
Hate.
It is. I do hate him. But that's my top four. I'll put Kareem at number one, Mike number two, Magic three, that dude number four, and number five. Woo, number five. You know what? I don't care, Laker fans. Y'all ain't real. Bill Russell number five. Shut up.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
what about you, man? If you had to do a five, could you see a situation where? Well, two-part question. Give me your top five, and then would you be putting on your all-time list? Would you be putting LeBron over Kobe?
Yeah, LeBron definitely goes over Kobe.
Okay.
That's almost a no-brainer. I'll put Mike at two. I'll put Mike at one. Listen, I'm with Derek on Kareem. I'm with Derek on the Kareem thing. I don't know about 1 and 2, but I do like Kareem in the top 2 somewhere. Okay. So I can make an argument off of impact, and I think this is where impact, when you have these discussions about top 5, the nuance of impact, I think that is what pushes people over the top. Derek is still getting robbed by somebody. So much noise on that. But anyway, no, but yeah, I think Kareem definitely, man. I would give Mike the nod over Kareem just off of the impact, just because of the impact. I think statistically, you can't argue with what Kareem has done, and you can't argue with what Mike has done. I mean, they almost like cancel each other out with statistics and cancel each other out with championships. Only thing, I think Mike had a more significant impact to the overall NBA and the overall of the game. So that's why I would definitely keep.
Plus Kareem ain't never sold no shoes.
Yeah, that too. And it's different.
Shut up.
Man, ponies don't count, man. Kareem sold ponies.
Oh, okay. My bad.
I go Mike, Kareem, then LeBron. And this where it get tricky for me. I want to say Magic, right? I want to give Magic his love, but let me tell you my criticism on Magic. I think Magic.
I want to hear this.
I think Magic impact was great. I think Magic's winning and his championships was great. I don't think the stats were that great.
Okay,
that's fair enough.
I think I mean, now he did average. Let me pull up. I think he almost damn near averaged a triple double. He was 19, 11, and 7 over his career. So he did average 11 assists a game. That's big time.
Right.
19. He didn't even average 20 points.
Wow.
So his impact, was far greater than probably, to the game more than maybe what he actually did on the floor. But I understand because his team was so talented that he didn't need to score. So, that's a whole nother thing. He was on a very talented team with a bunch of Hall of Famers. He didn't need to score. So I'll keep him at 4. And then after 4, I'm almost, I gotta give the old school Wilts and the Wilts and the Bill Russells and then the Kobe. Mm-hmm. I think I give the Wilts, the Bill Russells, and then the Kobe, and then the Shaq if I had to mess with it.
Okay.
Kobe slightly above Shaq. My only criticism about Kobe is when Mike was at his prime, Mike was clearly the best player in the game. Kobe was the best player, but I think there were other players who were equal to his skill. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like when Mike was dead, I don't think there was another guy in the league that you could say was as good as Mike. I don't, at his position, I don't know if you could say that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes Kobe, it's difficult argument for Kobe sometimes because he was just like Mike, but he was just like Mike in the next generation where everybody was like Mike. Mm-hmm. So his impact wasn't as great in terms of basketball. He wasn't as dominant because, the game evolved. And so you had Tracy McGrady's, you had Vince Carter's, you had AI's, you had all these other, he had to play with Shaq. So you had all these other entities that were as big as him and as talented as him. And I think that's probably why his overall impact to the top 100 won't be as great as it should be. But that's my critique. But, he was a hell of a basketball player. I can't take nothing away from Kobe.
Yeah.
Hey, Z.
Yeah.
You didn't give us a reason why LeBron is better than Magic, so fuck that. I'm gonna scratch your shit. No, fuck that. Fuck that. I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
You got to hear him out. Hey, you know what I say all the time. You can't ask somebody why they think somebody's their favorite or where they would put it and they get mad.
He know better. I know how you feel. I know better.
LeBron. No, I mean LeBron is better than Magic just because of statistics.
Oh!
Statistics on what he's doing on, because I mean he damn near got the same stat line, maybe slightly better, just don't have as many assists, but he averaging 26, 27 points a game over his career.
And fuck LeBron.
And his impact and what he has done.
Whoa. Magic saved the NBA. Shut the up.
He did say the NBA, but I'm saying for 2018 and for this generation,
LeBron is carrying the NBA.
LeBron carried the NBA.
I know, but don't make me say it out loud. God damn it.
Hey, let's be honest, after Mike.
Right.
Yeah, cut him off. That's right. Cut him off.
No, I didn't cut him off.
But what really happened with Kobe and LeBron was what happened with Kobe was LeBron came in. Mm-hmm. Kobe came in at 96. Yeah, LeBron right. Came in 2003. So he had 7 years to get that shine beat, and it
yeah, the shit that shine with Shaq.
Yeah, and he had to share.
And you know what's crazy? I think Kobe's dominance didn't last as long. Like what he was saying, as far as like being the best player. I think Kobe's dominance wasn't as long as LeBron's dominance has been. And that doesn't take anything away, because I think part of of Kobe getting into that dominance, he just happened to be on the same team as Shaq. As far as this list, man, I definitely would go biases aside. I go Mike 1. I probably put Kareem at 2. Honestly,
finish your list. Only your top 5.
I can't see me.
Yes, you can.
No. Let me finish. I can't see me putting LeBron over Magic. I just can't. So I'm going Magic 3. LeBron 4. 5. I probably go Russell, but I didn't see Russell. I didn't see Russell, so I have to defer to old school cats like our fathers. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe Wilt, then maybe Kobe, like that. Again, I still would make a case that any list that I'm making, and I might be biased, and I'll admit this, but I have a hard time putting Shaq over Bird on any list, and putting Shaq over Hakeem on any list, because I saw Hakeem eat Shaq up.
Okay.
And then when you talk about the when you go back to what Zell talked about as far as the impact, again, Bird and Magic saved the NBA. I grew up again watching the NBA. I remember watching the Suns play at 11 o'clock on CBS at night.
So you got Bird over Shaq?
I would put Bird over Shaq. Okay. I mean, they would still be in the top 10, but Bird might be 7, Shaq at 8. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be like something too far down the road. But Kobe's definitely in that mix too. But yeah, I think that's that's how my list would shake out. And again, I'd have to throw a caveat on there for Kareem, because I saw Kareem on the back half of his career. He was still dope. He wasn't he wasn't no bum. But I didn't see the Milwaukee Bucks Kareem. I didn't see Lou Alcindor. And Lou Alcindor was the man. I mean, they changed. Basketball changed just because of him. The no dunk rule for you young Thundercats. There was a rule that they put in place where they where they banned the dunk, where you could dunk the ball. And they did that because Kareem was 7'2" and he couldn't be stopped, and he was dunking every play. And they put the rule in to stop him from dunking because they needed some way to try to slow him down. But yeah, man, he's a phenomenal player. But yeah, I just, the biggest thing for me in doing the top 5 is Magic and LeBron, and I can't, because I know what Showtime 80s Lakers were. And while I wasn't a fan of that team, I know how hard it was for them to go through those Boston teams. And these were teams with Hall of Famers. And just what Magic...
Now the West wasn't like that back then. Now, so you can't give them the West. The West was the hardest.
Well, no. I mean, let's keep it a buck. The West. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was 2 teams that won the West in the '80s.
Right.
So it was the Lakers and the Rockets. That was it. Like, so it wasn't no, So it did, Magic didn't have to go through the gauntlet, if you will, in the playoffs, but at the same time, getting to those finals and having to face those, Celtics teams with those Hall of Famers, I think says a lot. And the way that the game was played and just everything, it is just, you put that 88 Showtime Lakers team against, anybody in history, and it's a damn good matchup. So
87.
Okay, 87. So yeah, it's a damn good matchup. So yeah, that's how mine would shake out.
Well, I would put Boston and the Lakers as the 2 greatest teams in the history of the NBA.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
I don't know if I would pull either one of those players out and say they, of course they were the catalyst, but then, I don't know. Their teams were so great, it almost takes away from their impact individually. You follow what I'm saying? Because like Magic, as dope as Magic was, I ain't taking nothing away from him, but only 4 years out of his whole career, he averaged over 20 points.
Wow.
Only 4.
That's crazy when you think about it, though, because you kind of you really think about Magic scoring, and
he had big games.
Yeah, he
didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that every night because he had Hall of Fame team. So that's why I look at it. When you look at like statistically what cats have been doing, that's why you got the balance impact. You just lined up statistics. You only can look at Magic and Bird in terms of championship. You really can look at them in terms of numbers because these new cats are putting up numbers like it ain't nothing.
Right. So, I agree with that.
Like Tracy McGrady put up numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
who was 57th on Slam's list?
Who that? T-Mac.
Yeah, T-Mac.
I got some other. If you want to look at, I think Chris Webber got dinged up pretty good. Yo, he got him at 88. That's disrespectful. He got Shoot at 88.
Hey, they got the Greek Freak at 85.
Oh my God! What?
Ahead of Alex English, ahead of Chris Webber, ahead of Dwight Howard, ahead of the great Dave Bing. And Lenny Wilkins is at 98.
They got Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard don't even talk. They got him.
Kawhi Leonard coming in at 76. Yeah, this is a crazy list. Alonzo Mourning at 78.
King,
oh man, the true Paul Pierce coming in at 62. Yeah, so we wanted to do just the top 50 because the top 100 was just too much to really just break down. But yeah, man, before we get out of here, man, Zeke, you want to tell people where they can catch you at? If you want to give out your socials,
Oh, listen, man, I don't really have no socials that's worth being social. But if you want to holler at me, man, I'm on the gram. Easy Does It VA. I think I'm on Twitter too. Ain't it, Kyle? What's my name on Twitter?
Same.
Easy Does It VA on Twitter. That's
how you don't know. How you don't know?
He don't tweet.
No, that's how whack I am on social media, dog.
I'm whack on.
No, that's how nonchalant you are. You ain't whack. You nonchalant.
I'm whack. I'm whack on social media too, man.
Oh my God! Please don't start this. Don't start this.
I'm so whack, man.
Hey, Doc, please don't start this.
We doing a conference call on Skype. I ain't know we can do this.
Bingo.
Anyway, D Love, you want to tell people how they can cop the new album or what's going on?
New album?
Man, see how we doing? See how we doing?
You got a new album?
Zell, please don't listen to him. Please don't do this.
Hey, Kyle, you know D is a rapper. You know that, right?
Oh my God.
Spoken word artist.
I mean, but we all know you put too much music behind that thing. I hear a lot of drums and a lot of, you know what I'm saying?
How the hell is this happening right now, man?
God.
All you need is a melody, dog.
I don't need no fucking melody.
Oh man.
We talking about basketball tonight. Shut up, man.
Vainglorious.
This is protected.
Somebody told me that shit 2 nights ago.
Oh man.
It was like with some excellent shit, and I was like, shut the
Wow.
fuck up. I hate y'all all. I hate all y'all.
So
Yo, man.
tell people how they can find you, man.
New album coming out in the next couple months. D Love Hall, social media, Instagram, Twitter, it's all the same. You know, follow me up, DLUVHLL. I'm here.
Hey man, y'all been listening to me and listening to this podcast for the longest, so you already know how to find me. 12 Kyle on Twitter and the likes. Thank you for listening to the podcast as always, man. Gotta thank the fellas for coming through. There's something to be said when you get your boy. I mean, like, I grew up with these cats, so always good to have these cats on to talk. We got to do it again. We got to, the ladies are calling for D Love to come back.
Shut up! Don't do this.
And
Don't do this. Don't do this. Please don't do this.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that'll be dope. But yeah, as always, man, thanks for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. So for my man Easy Does It VA, for my man D Love Hall, I'm your boy 12 Kyle signing off. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
Peace.
Cheers.